I want to tell you a story. It's a story you may think you know, but you don't.
Over there! What is that?
Papa! It speaks!
He's just a puppet.
No, I'm not. I'm a real boy.
People are sometimes afraid of things they don't know.
I don't understand.
We have yet another Pinocchio movie, and honestly, this one, if you watch this one, Hollywood never needs to do another Pinocchio movie ever again. So we had 3 Pinocchio movies the year of 2022. We had this one, which went to Netflix. We had Disney doing their live-action version, which I haven't seen, but honestly, I've given up on Disney live-action remakes because I don't really see the point. Unless you're adding something, like, new to it. To me, there's no reason to see just a pretty much a stage play version of the cartoon version. And then we had one that was a CG animated one that when it was imported, I believe it was, I can't remember what country made it, but when it was imported over here, they had Pauly Shore do the voice of Pinocchio, and I'm going, yeah, you already just had me go walk away from that. And I've seen some scenes from that, and I'm going, wow, that's just terrible. Because, you know, if you don't know who Pauly Shore is, he's that surfer dude that was pretty much in, like, a lot of the 90s comedy movies, like Biodome or Son-in-Law. And he has that surfer dude voice, and he brings it in that version. I'm like, nope, I'm good. So then when they came out with this one, I was like, oh boy, we're getting another one. But with Guillermo del Toro helping to helm it, I went, you know what, I'm actually a bit curious on this one. And the fact that it was stop motion, I think there was something to it that I'm like, you know what? Because it's stop motion, and because it's Guillermo del Toro partly helming it, you know what? I do want to see this. And del Toro has said that one of the movies that he grew up watching when he was a kid was the original Pinocchio. So this is a very personal movie to him. So this is, you know, it's the story of Pinocchio, but it's different. It's different because the stop motion is definitely, like, amazing. I've always loved stop motion stuff. That's why I love the work of Henry Selick, who, you know, did Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, and then the new Wendell and Wild. So I love stop motion because it's like people made that with their bare hands. It's the same thing as, like, 2D animation. It's like with 2D animation, people drew that. With stop motion, it's like people made that with their hands. They're moving it with their hands. They built it with their hands. So to me, that's just more impressive than, like, with CGI, where it's like, oh, you had your mouse and you were, like, moving it around, and there's more to that. But it's like the computer did 90% of the work for you. So this version, it goes back to, I believe they said Italy. It was Italy. And they take it back to when the book, like the original book that the movie is based on, when that kind of that dark tone, because they are more accurate to that book. Like, there's some things in this that were in the book that I'm like, wow, they did that. Like, that's, woof, oh boy. Because, you know, in the book, you know, Pinocchio is a huge jerk, and they do that here. He starts out as a very selfish, you know, like, oh, what's this? I'm immediately gonna smack it down, or I'm gonna break this. And it's like, no, don't do that. So they established they got the character of Pinocchio from the original book. They got it spot on. But yeah, in the book, it got darker and darker and darker. Like, Pinocchio gets Geppetto arrested in the book. Pinocchio burns his feet. The first sight of Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio kills him, and it's like, oh, okay, and that's in the book. And so you can imagine when Disney read the book, they're just like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to make it completely different and make it a family movie. And you know what? An adaptation of, I think Disney's original classic, it's a classic for a reason, but I think as an adaptation, it's not very good. But what they managed to do, they made it more of a family movie, where not just kids can watch it, but also adults can watch it and, be entertained. And that's exactly what Walt Disney wanted. He wanted to make movies. He wanted to produce movies that the entire family can watch, not just like little kids. And then the adults are going to go, ugh. And don't get me wrong, there's still Disney movies like that, but I think for the most part, Disney's done a good job at making, like, especially back in the day, where it's like, yeah, I can totally watch this with the family. I can totally watch this with the family. This one, as Del Toro put it, it's not a kid's movie, but your kids can watch it. And he's got a point, because there is some dark stuff in this. Like, they said it in Italy, but they said it during World War II. And it's like, oh, okay. And, the story of Pinocchio, where he ends up selling out to the carnival owner, and then it's either, in this, it's either like you go back to the carnival, or you get drafted in the military and you have to fight with Italy. And it's like, oh, well, shoot. And you're not given a choice for that. And the problem is that if he does go into the military, then the carnival owner, because he signed the contract, the carnival owner can sue them, can sue Geppetto. So it's like, oh, you kind of got the short end of the stick. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, great job, Pinocchio. Great job. So another thing about this is, the stop motion is incredible, but also the voice cast that they have is quite amazing too. I mean, they have Doug Bradley doing Geppetto. They have Finn Wolfhard's in this. Plays I forget his name. He's a friend that Pinocchio befriends. Ron Perlman plays Finn Wolfhard's dad. Kate Blanchett's in here. Tilda Swinton's in this. Ewan McGregor is Cricket, who they don't refer to as Jimmy. They refer to as Sebastian. Or as, I believe it was Sebastian J. Cricket. Or the other way around. I'm like, okay, I'm glad they're not going like the Jimmy route. I'm glad they're doing something different. Christoph Waltz was in this, and I'm still trying to figure out who he played. But the voice cast was spot on. There were times where I'm like, is that who I think it is? And then I had to look it up. I'm like, yeah, it is. That's quite amazing. And even though it's all stop motion, some of the character designs, I'm like, oh, that looks very Del Toro. Like in the original, you had the fairy that grants the wish. In this, it is somewhat of a fairy, but who's voiced by Kate Blanchett. And I'm like, you look a lot like one of the characters from Hellboy 2, but just in stop motion. And it's quite amazing to just watch all of the stop motion just flow really, really well. And this movie also, there was the song that was nominated for Golden Globe. I think it was Ciao Papa. That when they were playing the song and when it was flowing with what was happening, I started tearing up because I'm like, wow, this is dark. Like, I'm not expecting it to go this dark. And then after I watched it, I was then telling people who were interested in seeing it, I'm just like, yeah, if you watch it, don't expect that Disney one. You're going to get something completely different. You're going to get it darker. Even though in the original, there's the part where all the boys turn into donkeys. There's that. But in this, it's like, wow. Like, this is crazy. And even the backstory of Geppetto building Pinocchio, they get deep with it. He became an alcoholic, and because he lost his son. And they also, the way that they bring in the military and like the World War II aspects, they also bring in religion into it. And there's a part where Geppetto takes Pinocchio to the local church because Geppetto has to work on the church. Pinocchio looks at the cross of Jesus, and he asks Geppetto, like, why does everyone love him? He's made of wood and everyone adores him, but I'm made of wood and no one likes me. So then Geppetto's like, well, you know what? It's time for you to go to school. And I like how they bring that aspect into it because it's deep. It's like, oh wow, you're getting into this. Like, all right. So I like what they did where, Geppetto was very much trying to dodge the question because it's like yeah, I don't know how to tell you because there's two ends of that story. But, from the voice cast to the stop motion to the story of how dark it really got, and even to the music. The music was really well done too. Yeah, this if you hadn't seen my best movies of the year list for 2022, this ranked at number 2 because yeah, this was hands down amazing. Like I said, I don't think Hollywood needs to make another Pinocchio movie because this, I think, is the definitive version. There's only 2 versions of Pinocchio that I think you should watch. This version, if you want a more darker, more a better adaptation of the original story, and then the original Disney classic. These two are the only Pinocchio movies I think you should watch. So, hands down, if you cry easily during movies, you're gonna cry in this. This was just flat up amazing, and yes, it was one of the best movies of the year.
Stop that! Don't hurt him anymore!
You may have no strength, but I control you.
Please bring him back to me.
Life is such a wonderful gift.